What's up, Danksters? Thanks for tuning into a brand new video, and today I donned the Spider-Man suit because Spider-Man is on my senses again. Last year around this time, I covered Spider-Man for the PS4. Nothing extra, just the base game. And here we are a year later with its follow-up, Spider-Man Miles Morales. The original Spider-Man on PS4 is a very special title to me and one that left a hell of an impression. And after I finished it with all of its DLC, I immediately wanted more, and that's where today's game comes in. And as a launch title for the brand new PS5, Insomniac gave me exactly what I wanted. Spider-Man Miles Morales finds itself in a very unique position too, because it's the sequel but also a spin-off of the first Spider-Man game on PS4. At the end of the first game, I didn't really want to mention it back in my first video because I didn't want to spoil the ending for people who haven't played the game, but I'm going to spoil it here, so be prepared. So at the end of the first game, Miles reveals to Peter that he now has the same spider powers as he does. So with this knowledge, Peter obviously takes him under his wing, and Miles Morales picks up right after that, however, focuses on its own story to be not a direct sequel. And I guess it also kind of fills that whole quota thing of giving us an origin story game without it being Peter and without us going through the whole Uncle Ben stuff again. I didn't play this as soon as it came out. It also came with the remastered version of the first Spider-Man game, so all my time went into that. But when I was done, I definitely jumped over to Miles Morales, and this will actually be my third playthrough I have done of this game, which will be the playthrough I do for this video. So after all this time, does Spider-Man Miles Morales hold up? Well, let's find out. So to start things off, I think I'm just going to cover the story and then we'll move on from there. So just like I said a little bit ago, the story takes place a little bit after the first game. It's now Christmas time in New York and both Spider-Men are out on patrol. Both Spider-Men are out helping escort a raft prisoner when suddenly the cage holding the prisoner starts to break. Miles jumps in, tries to fix it, but accidentally causes the aircraft to crash. It turns out it was Rhino who was being captured, and once he breaks free, he wreaks havoc all throughout New York. Even having this cool set piece where we blast through a mall decked out in all Christmas decoration. Insomniac has a knack for detail, even throwing in their own logo right here. Eventually, after trying to stop Rhino, he takes him to a Roxxon tank, causing a massive explosion. Prisoners are also on the loose, so Miles goes to take care of the prisoners while Peter takes care of the Rhino. And after taking care of said prisoners, Miles tries to reconnect with Peter when he's suddenly tossed out of a building by Rhino, leaving it all up to Miles to stop him. And it's here where Miles starts to learn that he has Venom powers, starting off with the Venom Punch, a huge punch full of electricity. And it is very helpful because we will definitely use this to take down Rhino. After defeating Rhino, Roxxon security shows up, including one Simon Krieger, who is head of R&D at Roxxon. But more importantly, he takes Rhino away, which is a little suspicious, but Peter shrugs it off and they then leave, finding a rooftop to chill out on. It's here where Peter breaks the news to Miles that he's going overseas with Mary Jane for a job that she has out there for the Bugle. Of course, hearing this, Miles is hesitant at first, but Peter assures him that he has it all under control, and that him soloing the Rhino was proof of that. Peter gives Miles a parting gift before leaving, and then one of my favorite scenes between the two happens here.
See you in a few weeks, Spider-Man. New York's only Spider-Man.
I'm New York's only Spider-Man.
Then we go into the rawest swing of all time with that music playing in the background that I can't play because of copyright reasons. Was such a highlight for me. Miles then gets in contact with Genki to have him meet up with him at the park to show him the present that Spider-Man gave him, which happens to be a new suit that looks a little awkward to say the least. However, this was only half of the gift, so Miles goes off to find the rest of it, and it happens to be a spider training program simulator. Peter set this up for Miles to help him get the basics of being Spider-Man. And after completing the spider training program, Genki gets in contact with us and gives us a heads up that Roxxon Labs might be getting broken into. So we head off and go check it out. Turns out, Roxxon was getting broken into by these guys wearing these purple suits decked out in gear. But after taking them out, it turns out they were tracking this thing called New Form, and huge shipments of it at that. However, before we can find out why they were doing this, security shows up, so Miles decides just to head out and let security take care of business. Miles then swings back home to sneak back into his apartment, and it's here where we'll see a lot of details in Miles' life, and it's a lot of fun to just go around this apartment and look at everything. thing. Insomniac gave everything a prompt, so Miles will interact with a lot of it. It's Christmas Eve and everyone's getting ready for Christmas dinner when suddenly there is a knock at the door, and it happens to be an old friend of Miles, Finn, who with this scene alone you can tell they have a lot of history together. And once Christmas dinner is done, Miles and Finn get together to talk about making plans to where they can hang out sometime later. It's now the next day where Genki has apparently stayed up overnight hacking into the suit and created an app called the Friendly Neighborhood app, which is an app to where anyone can download and report a problem so Spider-Man can know and immediately hop on over there to take care of business. Well, after getting into costume and getting out into the world, one immediately pops up, which happens to be from Miles' uncle, Aaron Davis. Apparently the train signals are acting up, so we go figure it out and we see that it's those purple guys in the gear again, which at this point we know are now called the Underground. Taking care of them and making sure the trains are back on order, we head back to Aaron, who knows that Miles is the new Spider-Man. Miles kind of freaks out about this, but Aaron promises not to tell his mom. Finn then calls Miles and asks if they wanted to hang out, so Miles then swings over to a random rooftop where Finn asked him to be. Turns out they had hit a time capsule here, and it's here where we get a flashback, happens to when they actually start to bury the time capsule. This is apparently taking place around the time that Miles was in middle school, so we have Miles, Finn, and this new character named Rick, who is Finn's brother. And while talking about him, Finn gets really bothered and then just decides to leave. However, there's not much time to dwell on anything with this because shortly after, Miles' mom's press conference starts to begin, and things are looking good. It looks like a peaceful protest. Although this is a Spider-Man story, so nothing good can ever stay, so the Underground come in, could you believe it, and we're ready to raid the press conference. And it's here where we see the main villain of the story, the Tinkerer, who is after that new form shipment that we were talking about earlier. Going over to the bridge that has the new form shipments, Miles tries to grab it out of the Tinkerer's hand, and in doing so, the electricity from Miles malfunctions the Tinkerer's mask, revealing that it's Finn. Obviously being shocked that his best friend is the Tinkerer, Finn gets the upper hand on him and knocks him into more new form. And because of that bioelectricity energy that Miles has, reacting with the new form causes the entire bridge to collapse. So it's a race for Miles to get everyone off the bridge while maintaining the structure of the bridge. Even throwing in a nice little Spider-Man 2 reference here. After saving everyone, Miles takes in the damage and feels very guilty for all the destruction. When Roxxon Security shows up with orders to take out Miles, it's where Miles then gets a new power, his camouflage, which begins to kick in, making him completely invisible to the naked eye so he has a chance to escape. The next day, Miles is contemplating on why Finn wanted the new form and if he even is a good Spider-Man. Genki, being the best G of all time and the best friend ever, gives Miles the confidence by telling him that all he wants to do is compare himself to the other Spider-Man, when he should just focus on himself and keep doing his best to be the best Spider-Man he can be. This then works on Miles, where another montage plays with another great music track that, because of YouTube and copyright reasons, I cannot play for you. But anyway, Miles and Genki start creating Miles' iconic suit. Miles suits up and heads out, and it's here where Peter will actually call Miles saying that he heard the news about the bridge in the new form and he's on his first flight back. However, Miles reassures him that he's got this and that to just enjoy the vacation that he's on. After talking to Peter, Miles then goes on his hunt to check out one of Finn's hideouts to see if he'll find anything there. Once arriving, Miles stumbles across a video of Rick and Finn talking about shutting down the new form, but couldn't for a reason. Again, not much time to dwell on it though, because the Underground shows up before we can even figure it out. So after taking care of them, Miles then swings over to the Roxxon building where the Prowler shows up to help. It's here where Miles finds out that the Prowler is actually his Uncle Aaron. Being very shocked to find out his uncle is the Prowler, he can't really focus on it much because he's gotta find Finn's phone. He's hoping that there might be some information on it that he can go off. After breaking in, we see Simon Krieger again, being more suspicious, demanding people around him, and genuinely just being nasty to his workers. Going through the building a bit more and taking out the security here, we find Finn's phone, which has exactly what we were looking for on it. On Finn's phone, we find a video she recorded of her and Rick trying to shut down the Nuform machine before it gets out because of how dangerous it is. Nuform is something in this story that is considered ultimate pure energy, but actually it causes people to get really sick. Rick, being a great guy, couldn't really stand to work for an energy that would make people sick, so he tries to shut it down. Krieger knew this was going to happen though, so he ends up making a shield that traps Rick inside the Nuform transformer, exploding it, killing Rick in the process. After finding this out, we then escape Roxxon Labs, where it's here where Miles and Aaron discuss how to get the information out of Finn. Well, Aaron then tells Miles to just go to her as a friend and ask her to join. Because they are friends, Finn would be gullible enough to just allow him. And it does work. Finn brings Miles into the Underground headquarters where we learn everything that they're up to to him. Finn was actually the one making all the technology the Underground was using. Before I go on, I just want to say I love the colors of this base. The purple is so striking, and it's also really cool that the Underground base is the Fisk Tower from the first Spider-Man game, right in the beginning of the game. It was really cool and unique to go back to this building as Miles and see it after all the time after we took care of, Fisk as Peter. Miles finds a way to sneak out and comes back later as Spider-Man and overhears Finn's plans. Although he wasn't stealthy enough because one Underground worker actually sees him, and after fighting his way out, Miles actually chases down the Tanker, revealing who he is. Finn, getting the upper hand on him, seeing that it's Miles, freaks out and leaves before Miles can talk to her. Without much direction, Miles then meets back up with his Uncle Aaron, who tells him that he needs to stop worrying about being Spider-Man so much and should just worry about the stuff that he used to love doing. The next day, Miles meets back up with Finn. Now both of them know who each other are. A moment starts to be had here when, of course, the Rhino out of nowhere shows up decked out in Roxxon gear. And believe it or not, the Rhino actually gets the upper hand on Miles here, knocking him clean out, bringing him to Krieger, where a one-on-one conversation happens telling Miles that Krieger is going to kill Finn. Making it out, we try to go warn her when Miles is zapped out of the air by a green light. Miles then crashes into the ground, dazed out of his mind, to reveal the Prowler. It turns out the Prowler actually works for Krieger, and after arguing back and forth, Miles breaks out of the jail he was put in, and then a fight with the Prowler happens one-on-one. But it's just a quick family tiff, and we're back on the streets before you know it after Finn at the Science Center. Making it there, we have another set of flashbacks with Miles and Finn back in the day. Before another fight can ensue, Finn just leaves, leaving Miles to swing through the city anxiously to try to stop her from blowing up the Nuform reactor. And making it there, we have a face-off with Finn in a long battle. However, after the reactor starts and the damage we were doing from our battle, the building crumbles, burying Miles and Finn. Miles then sluggishly walks over to the reactor to absorb the electricity so it doesn't blow up. In doing so, shreds his suit while holding onto a lot of the electricity to the point of exploding. After realizing what she did, Finn then grabs him, bringing him up so high up in the air, telling him it's okay and just to explode. And once he does, he ends up killing Finn in the process, dropping him back down to the ground. 4 weeks have now passed. Simon Krieger is now going to jail, and Miles is now looked more fond upon as a Spider-Man. Miles then meets back up with Peter again for some light banter before going off on another adventure, ending Spider-Man Miles Morales' story. Overall, I have to say, the story here is good in its own way, probably the weaker out of the two. I much preferred the stakes and the risk that Peter took in the first game compared to whatever's going on here in Miles' campaign. Sometimes it just feels a bit generic for me. I have played this game now 3 times fully and dabbled in New Game Plus a bit, and I have to say, I still do not like the villain of this game. Finn as the Tankerer is lame as hell, and I just never really liked her character. But it also comes down to another problem with how Insomniac does the voice acting for these games. Now, this was a problem in the first game as well, but some characters just don't deliver their lines appropriately enough in this game, and it was the same with the first one as well. I don't know what it is, but sometimes when these characters talk, it feels very uncanny. Well, overall, the story is decent in its own right, but it's enough talking about everything that the Spider did. Let's talk about everything the Spider can do. Actually, reviewing Miles' moveset is actually going to be a lot easier on me this time because I'm just going to assume that you saw my first Spider-Man video that I did, so we're just going to roll right off of that. So in terms of what Miles can do in terms of swinging, it's pretty much everything Peter can do. The swinging feels just as good as it does in this game, even arguably better, and I don't know about that. I'm just saying you could possibly argue that it's better. However, I would say the key detail for this swinging is Miles' animation. While some do look sleek, you can also see the very beginnerness of Miles' swing. How he doesn't quite have a grip on the swinging yet, so he's just flinging his body forward. Some do look pretty snazzy, but some look like it's failed execution, and I love that little detail that they added to the game. This is Miles Morales' beginning time as a Spider-Man, so he wouldn't really have it all down packed. This also happens when you go up to ledges and he does a little forward motion, like he doesn't have the full stop down. I love details like this. However, Miles does have a little bit more to his arsenal to work with than Peter did in the first one, being his venom powers I'm mostly talking about. Speaking of swinging, while also to keep your momentum in the game, not only do you still have the web zipping, but Miles has an electric surge that can dash him forward or even shoot him up high. These are really fun to work with in the game to keep your web swinging going, and it's a nice touch to add to the swinging, and it's really fun to pull off too. So Miles will go through the game gradually unlocking these venom Venom powers. The best in my opinion being the Venom punch. It's just so satisfying to start beating up on a guy and then just unleashing that punch for the finishing blow. A close second to me would be the Venom dash. This is always fun to pull off, just to zip around the enemies to quickly get the hold of them. However, I just can't get over that Venom punch, you know, it's just so satisfying. There's also a Venom jump which allows you to get around all the enemies, so if you're getting surrounded, you can jump up in the air and get all of them up in the air stunned with you, and you can just take out a couple. It's pretty helpful. And also the Venom blast. However, throughout this playthrough, I actually didn't use it at all, and I don't know why that is, but it is a helpful move if you do have it. So yeah, pretty much Miles can do all this stuff, with the exception that he takes more damage than Peter would, and I take that as him being, you know, brand new to the job still, and I love that little detail of the game that they add. And man, I gotta say, to go back to the swinging for a bit, it is so hypnotizing to do. So after you beat the game, you can change the settings of what you want for the day, and you just swing, and then I just get lost in swinging. And in New York, it's just, yeah. Miles also has a camouflage mechanic which will sometimes make some of those sneak missions just a no-brainer, super easy to maneuver through. All you have to do is press up on the D-pad and Miles goes instantly invisible when your meter is up. This is kind of like the game's get out of jail free card, and it's very welcoming to have. Because if you're ever in a tight spot, you can just quickly do what you need to do and just zip on out of there before you're ever caught. It's a really helpful mechanic for the newcomers of this game, which does kind of tie into what this game is doing. You know, for newcomers who come into this game, you're coming into a brand new Spider-Man, so learning together, if you will. Miles also has some web gadgets to play with like Peter did in the first game, however, not as much as Peter did. But the ones we do have here are actually pretty good fun. The gravity web is pretty amusing to use. Holodrone webs are pretty nice, causing two holograms to come out and fight beside you. Really helpful. But I did rarely use it because, well, I'm Spider-Man. I want to do the work. That's me. That's my job. I just use normal webs for the most part, though the gadgets were a lot of fun to go through and strategically use. I guess if you were satisfied with the first game and how it controlled there, the second game does spice things up a little bit and do add a little quality of life improvements that the first game didn't have, but I'm not taking away from the first game. The first game is still amazing and I would recommend playing that any day. But yeah, Miles just does a lot of things better in terms of mechanics. And also, just like the first game, Insomniac made sure to fill this game to the brim with side objectives. Well, at least much as they could do. And trust me, you are going to want to do them because doing everything unlocks tokens, which you can then use to upgrade your suits, upgrade your gadgets, unlock more costumes to wear, but I'll get back to that last one in a little bit. And obviously, while not being like the first game and not as crazy as the first game, there's still plenty to do here. You have underground caches, underground hideouts, side missions, time capsules, spider training segments, friendly neighborhood app requests, rocks on labs, random crimes that happen throughout the city, and Uncle Era music tasks. There are plenty of things to do here. Like I said though, not as many as there are in the first game, but still, holy shit guys, relax, it's just a little side game. But if anything, that just goes to show you the dedication that Insomniac had to just stuffing this game full to the brim, because they really wanted you to get your money's worth out of it. Anyway, after doing everything and doing missions and unlocking tokens, we got the costumes to play with. Then, while not being as many as the first game, like a lot of aspects in this game, the costumes here are still plentiful. Miles doesn't have that closet of suits like Peter does, but what we have here is still pretty good. My favorites being the In suit, the 2020 suit, the Purple Rain suit, the Bodega suit, the Christmas suit, and I loved the Ultimate Cartoon suit. This suit just looks so good in action, and it's really fucking awesome that they managed to translate the cell shading so well over to it. However, when I got this game, I got the Ultimate Launch Edition, and that came with a few bonuses, including the Into the Spider-Verse Spider-Man suit. And not only that, there's also a suit upgrade that gives you the effect that looks just like the animation from the movie. It's insane. I love using this suit. I love playing with this suit. It's so hypnotizing just to look at the animation as Miles swings by, fighting people in the streets. It's really cool how they managed to pull this off. Now the graphics, while you've been looking at the footage this entire time, they're absolutely stellar. Insomniac knows how to deliver on detail. They know how to make their games look just absolutely beautiful, and Miles Morales is no exception. It being in New York again, but during Christmas time, gives the city a lot of time to flare and pop out. Swinging around NYC is one of the coolest things ever. If you know me and you've been a fan of this channel for a long time, you know that I am a huge sucker for Christmas levels, Christmas things, Christmas video games, you name it. So the fact that I got a Christmas game and it's Spider-Man is like the best of both worlds. I literally don't know how it gets any better than that. Also, we have a modern video game that is a Christmas game, so whenever the season comes around, we have one to play. Hey, Arkham Origins, what are you doing? I didn't forget about you. Go on you. Get out of here. Little rascal. Now, to go with those graphics, we have an amazing soundtrack. You know, I have a lot of songs on this soundtrack that I like, but because of copyright purposes, I'm not allowed to play them for you. But if you can, I would highly recommend going out of your way and looking up the soundtrack. It's just so good. One of my favorites is the piece that plays after Peter leaves Miles on his own for the first time. The swing that goes with it is just so hard, man. I also just had to sit here for a bit, take in the music, take in my atmosphere, and Miles just looks so fucking cool here. And also the ending credits theme, that is a really good piece too. I also really like that one as well. Also, some of the soundtrack or some stuff I can actually show you and listen. In fact, you've been listening to some of them in the background of this video the entire time. A lot of these music tracks are actually really good, like the swinging tracks where you're just out and about swinging in the city. Pretty good, pretty high energy. It's what you would expect from a Spider-Man game. Now, I do have some gripes with this game, but overall I would say Miles Morales is a fantastic play and a definite recommend from me. I mean, I'm all decked out, I'm all spidered out, and honestly, I don't think there's a point where Insomniac is going to deliver a bad game at all, Spider-Man related. No, it seems like they have the formula pretty down packed at this point, and I mean, who knows what else the future can hold. However, if you are going to play Miles Morales, I do want to let you know that this game is a bit on the short side. For this video's playthrough, it only took me about 5 hours to beat this game, and if I went after all the side objectives, then maybe 7 to 8. But now that it's been 5 years later since this game has been released, I would say it's well worth it, especially if you can find a sealed copy. This game roughly goes for about $20 these days, so I guess you really don't have an excuse not to play it unless you just don't want to, which is fair. So now on this channel, I have now played and reviewed Spider-Man for the PS4 and Spider-Man Miles Morales, and both have been fun. I don't plan to go back to the DLC of the first game, so I guess that really only leaves Spider-Man 2. I got this game on launch day. I was super excited to get it, and I played it, and I actually recorded my entire playthrough of the game. Who knows, maybe if I'm ever feeling up to it, I might get to that. I don't know. Do you guys want me to cover Spider-Man 2? I'll do it if you guys want it soon. Just let me know. But yes, I have the game, and I guess the next logical step would be to cover it to complete the Insomniac trilogy of Spider-Man games. Well, Danksters, that is going to do it for me today. Spider-Man Miles Morales, are you guys wanting to play it? Have you guys played it? Did this video spark anything for you to play it? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll get to you when I get to you. Danksters, can I get you to do me one thing? Can I get you to scroll down and hit that subscribe button and the bell for post notifications, because I don't want you to miss a single video of mine. And if you like the kind of content I do, well, it'd be kind of silly not to be involved, right? So go ahead, hit subscribe, and join the Dankster army. And also, while you're down there, my socials will be in the description. Make sure to go follow those. They'll be just lined up, and you can click on them. Super easy. You'll be right to the website. Go ahead and go do that for me, please. And for those daredevils out there, I do have a Patreon, and it's only $1 a month. And if you want to donate to the channel, it would be greatly appreciative. And everything you do donate will go back into this channel and will help make better content. So if you're feeling up to it, it's always down there, and your help will be greatly appreciative. Well, Danksters, I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. It's always a lot of fun to play these Spider-Man games. Well, guys, that looks like that's my signal. So I'll catch you guys on the next one.